Since I took office, I've been committed to helping protect seniors and other vulnerable communities from fraud and to protect their financial well-being. Like many of my colleagues, constituents in my district are feeling the economic pain caused by the ongoing pandemic. Just this week, in fact, a constituent of mine, Patricia from Wantage, New Jersey, reached out to me to ask, what can we do as policymakers to help protect people's credit during this crisis? I'm proud that we're able to provide Americans with debt and credit relief as part of the bipartisan CARES Act, protecting homeowners in forbearance and federal student loan borrowers. We are able to continue to work to do so with the Bipartisan HEROES Act, which is yet to become law. It's in the Senate now waiting action. And in that act, including suspending negative credit reporting during the pandemic, giving Americans time to recover economically before there's a risk of being hit on their credit reports. It's also time that we look at the way hardworking Americans are able to track and ensure accuracy in their credit reports so that their scores are where they need to be as we progress into our economic recovery. I really want to thank Chairwoman Waters for her impactful leadership and partnership on this bipartisan bill and her incredibly supportive and smart team. I also want to thank Ranking Member McHenry for spending so many months working with me in such a constructive and cooperative manner. My bill reflects a lot of his wise input. I, too, am sorry we weren't able to find ultimate common ground. I also want to thank my good friend and co-chair of the Bipartisan Problem Solvers Caucus, Tom Reed, for his work co-sponsoring this important legislation. After working on this bill for a year, I was proud when the bill was reported favorably out of the Financial Services Committee on December 11th, 2019. I'm also proud the House last night passed the landmark George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. We must continue to come together as a country to fight for racial justice on all fronts and to combat inequalities that have plagued this nation for too long, which includes the ability to access credit. Credit affects all communities, impacting what Americans pay for a car, whether they can get a mortgage for a house, the rates on a credit card, and how much they can receive for a small business loan. It impacts especially strong, the impact it has is especially strong on communities of color. And experts have testified to the Financial Services Committee that the credit reporting system is biased, particularly against these communities. Running this crucial part of our economy are three companies in the United States that literally hold the keys to the kingdom. It's an oligopoly. They decide Americans' credit fate on whether they should get access to credit, and it's all done in a closed-off system behind the drapes, and we don't know what goes on, how they develop those scores. And I'm very glad the ranking member is interested in trying to get more competition into that process, and I'm very eager, and I'm sure the committee is too, to work together on that front. And I'm also glad that there are areas that he would like to go further on overall when it comes to access to credit, and I'm also eager to sit down as well. But the bottom line is these three credit bureaus come up with their own magic number, your credit score. Houdini himself could not figure out how these credit scores are calculated. They have their own secret formula. It impacts every aspect of your life, as I said, from your car loan to your mortgage. And it's up to you to track it and beg them to fix inaccuracies when they arise, which is far too often, and most often not your fault. The best way to discover whether there are errors on your credit report is to check your three reports from these companies. FICRA currently only gives consumers the right to view the report for free once every 12 months. Otherwise, you've got to pay out of your own pocket and chase down these three credit bureaus, anywhere from $9.95 a report to $15.95 a report. Experts recommend that you check your report before applying for any new line of credit or making a large purchase or renting or buying a home, because a mistake can easily seriously affect your credit. It could lead to more costs and things like rising interest rates that would affect your loans, and even worse, you may be ineligible to qualify for financing altogether. The Federal Trade Commission has previously found that 1 in 5 consumers have verified errors in their reports, not of their own making, and 1 in 20 consumers have errors so serious that they would be denied credit or need to pay more for it. That adds up to 42 million Americans with errors in their credit and 10 million with errors that can be life-altering. We also now live in a world where data breaches are a constant threat. Unfortunately, every year, 15.4 million Americans are victims of credit card fraud. 42,000 people every single day. 42,000. According to the Merchant Risk Council, 80% of all credit cards are compromised. And the Identity Theft Resources Center has reported that as of June 11th, there have been 475 reported data breaches already this year, exposing more than 5 million records. And once you're a victim, almost immediately, the criminals, they start in. They apply for new cards, for mortgages, for loans, for cars, anything else they can get their hands on, all under your name, affecting your credit score within these 3 credit bureaus. And it is vital that these fraudsters be caught immediately and not be allowed to cause further damage undetected between the one free annual report. It's happened to my sister, to my constituents, to people I know, and I'm sure everyone out there knows someone this has happened to. And when someone is the target of this fraud right now, it's up to the victim to fix these issues. They receive all of the burden of chasing after these 3 companies with their own systems and procedures and beg them for help, and that can take 3 to 6 months. My bipartisan legislation with Congressman Tom Reed from New York asks the private sector, not the government, to help fix this. And this is a big distinction here that I want to point out to the ranking member. This is a private sector, this is driven by the private sector, not the government, to fix this issue. My bipartisan bill sets up a one-stop shop online portal to check your credit report for free at any time. It allows victims to shut off the ability of credit crooks from using your information to apply for credit under your name. The portal will also provide the ability to initiate and resolve disputes between you and the credit bureau, and you'll be able to see who the bureaus have sold your data to in the prior 2 years, because yes, they take your data and they go make money on your information. The bill strengthens cybersecurity safeguards of information held by consumer reporting agencies to help prevent a repeat of the 2017 Equifax data breach. The bill also asks the GAO to examine the most secure and accurate marker to track your credit, whether it's your Social Security number or another federal identifier. And this is very important. I'm glad the ranking member raised this issue because I agree we should find the best possible identifier that's most secure, and that's exactly what this study is all about, because we need to make sure we keep your identity secure. By creating this one-stop portal, all 3 credit bureaus will now have to work together to protect you and make your lives better, not the other way around. And I understand the issue that's raised about the security and making sure that this is not handed off to someone. That's why, again, as I say, the private sector will develop these websites. And to a point about this that was raised, if my friend's actually really concerned about, and he thinks that these 3 bureaus don't have secure websites now, well, then we better get him here immediately and find out why he's worried about that and see if they actually should be more secure. Because what we're asking them to do is develop a website just like they have now, which I hope, and I will ask the companies again, I hope that they are doing everything possible to keep their own websites secure. When my own sister had her credit hacked last year, she told me she was lucky to get a day off from her job to figure all this out. She had to sit on the phone and chase everyone. But what if you don't have the ability to take a day off to sit on the phone with each credit company and chase down every single issue? Our bipartisan legislation will help fix this and help Americans protect what they spent a lifetime building, and that's their credit. I'm also proud, lastly, to have the support of several businesses and consumer groups. Vince Malta, president of the National Association of Realtors, sent a letter to me this week on the bill which states access to free credit scores, transparency in the reporting process, and use of consumer credit information, high standards for vetting credit information, and a reliable method for contesting and correcting inaccurate information are critical to a vibrant housing market and economy. Other supporting groups include the National Consumer Law Center, the Consumer Federation of America, Consumer Action, and World Privacy Forum. While we didn't earn the support of every group, and I recognize that, I am proud that even among those who disagree with us, acknowledge the efforts we took in order to work toward a bipartisan agreement. I will continue to work to make every effort to reach consensus, and I appreciate the acknowledgement of that effort. Finally, let me say that during an economic downturn and throughout the years we're going to spend recovering for it, Americans' financial security will and must be paramount. We've already seen spikes in fraud throughout this pandemic, especially related to direct payments and different types of loans. And the chairwoman has worked overtime in all of our bills to make sure we do everything possible to protect Americans during this time, and I'm grateful for her leadership. As we recover from this crisis, I want to make sure Americans can protect their credit and resolve disputes that may arise. As SEC Chairman Clayton testified just yesterday to the House Financial Services Committee, for a consumer, the best thing you can do for yourself is understand your credit and get your credit under control. We need a modernized system that empowers all consumers, especially those facing new challenges with this new pandemic, with transparency and ability to correct errors to credit reports and to make sure everyone can have access to credit so that they can have a home, a car, and enjoy everything that everyone who works hard should have access to. I urge my colleagues to support this common-sense bipartisan bill, which will help every American. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I yield back. Thank you.